Hello, this is Roland, and I'm making a little video just before Christmas. Got some good news for you. My new book, which is called Contemporary Contemplation, with reflections on Miguel Molinos, is now available. No, it's not on Amazon yet, but it will be soon. But it is available as a PDF that I can actually send you. So if you have an interest in it, then all you have to do is send me an email and tell me that you'd like the book, and I will send it to you. And I will provide the email address at the end of this little video here. So what's the book about? Well, you know what it's really about? It's about how to get closer to God. And what I emphasize in my book, well, actually, it's a combination of two books. It's a book that I wrote, a short book on contemporary contemplation. And then I include a complete and annotated version of The Spiritual Guide by Miguel de Molinos. So you get both. And I think my book is very helpful. First of all, many people like the writings of Miguel Molinos, especially his Spiritual Guide. That's the main thing he's known for. And they like his writings, they like him, the way they like the writings of Madame Jeanne Rillon or François Fénelon. These writers seem to have got it. They seem to have actually experienced God, and they try to tell us how to do the same thing. And also, I believe, Teresa of Avila and St. John of the Cross, and there are others, but I'm going to stick right now to talking about Miguel Molinos. Now, he writes beautifully about what it's like to walk with God. But what I have discovered, and what he has also discovered, is that there are impediments to that walk with God. And we all know what those are, aren't we? We're born in sin. And so we have a lower nature that wars with the higher one. We know that we should do right, and maybe we even know what is the right thing to do, but our nature pulls the other way. We know what's commonsensical, but our nature pulls the other way. We know what is moderation, or what we should say no to, but our nature pulls the other way. And then when we want to do good, we want to be honest, we want to clear the air, we want to come clean, we want to admit error. Something holds us back. Something stops us. Something doesn't want us to. So these things get in the way. But something else gets in the way, and it's very simple. I'm going to keep this very, very simple today. Incidentally, Merry Christmas. Very simple. We don't know how to get started. Maybe for a long time we've yearned for something more than what we have now. We've yearned for something good and pure and honorable and truthful and noble and clean. We want to be that way. Many of us remember very clearly when we were younger, we really wanted to be that way, and to some extent we were before we became totally corrupted by the world. But you see, the problem with the corruption is that it then makes us guilty and fearful, and we become afraid to come to the light. But again, I want to keep it simple. See, I could go in so many different ways. but I want to keep it simple. A lot of people just don't know how to get started. They don't know how to get started. Then you go somewhere and they say, well, do this, and somebody else says, do that. And they think, well, maybe if I study, maybe if I read this or read that, or maybe if I get a degree, or maybe if I take an online course, or maybe if I go to this mentor or this spiritual director, or maybe if I use this type of prayer or this type, see? Somehow it doesn't work. And so Molinos very, very rightly points out that, see, there's always been a tradition in the Catholic Church of something called discursive meditation. And what it means, and I talk about it in my book. See, some of you are not totally familiar with the jargon, the vocabulary. And so it's nice to have it explained a little bit. So discursive meditation, what does that mean? Well, it means reading a little something, a little scripture verse, for example, and then pondering it, thinking about it, and then applying it to your life. So it could be a scripture verse, it could be something written by somebody about some spiritual matter, and then you ponder it, be thoughtful about it, think about it. See, that's what discursive meditation is. Now, it has always been thought that that will then lead to, or it should lead to, what is then called infused prayer or contemplation. And it is agreed, and properly so, among people like Molinos and Teresa of Avila and St. John of the Cross and people like that, that the contemplative prayer, which is experiencing God, coming close to God, and it eventually leads to what they call, these mystical writers, union with God. But it is agreed that it is of God. That reading is something we can do, thinking we can do, pondering we can do, and so on. But coming to God is a thing of God. He draws us. Even Christ said, none can come to me unless my Father draw them. So it is of God. Okay. But Molinos points out that discursive meditation can get in the way. And I go into that in my book. I go quite deeply into it. Why discursive meditation, why reading, why study of any kind gets in the way? Because it pulls you into the words. It pulls you into the writer. It's hypnotic. So what a person needs to learn how to do is to defocus, become dehypnotized, and to stand back, to mentally stand back, and instead of being in the words, to stand back and observe the words. Instead of being in thought, to observe thought. You see what I mean? See, what's the problem with people? They get lost in their thoughts. They start worrying and fearing, and what if this and what if that, and see, you have to stand back from it. Literally. Now, another term that is very popular among such mystical writers is the term recollection, and I talk about that in my book. That's another term you need to know what they mean. And basically what they mean is to stand back. You've probably heard, they say, well, if somebody's trying to pull you in, you're getting into an argument with somebody, then they say, take a mental step back. Well, that's exactly what it is. You get the big picture when you take the mental step back. So what is recollection? It means pulling within, pulling back. The soul pulls back to a safe space. And I think that's what Christ was talking about in the Beatitudes, which we're all familiar with. But what you're not possibly familiar with is the most beautiful version of the Beatitudes, which is found in the Caboris manuscript that was painstakingly translated by the Mr. McDougall at the Yonan Codex Foundation in such a way that the Kabbalistic manuscript is written in Aramaic, the language that Jesus spoke. And so it's quite possibly what he actually said. And it's beautifully translated by Mr. McDougall and the Yonan Codex people that he was with. And instead of saying, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the humble, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, it says, a heavenly attitude have those people who hunger and thirst after righteousness. And then he said, theirs is a heavenly state. So you see, that's it. You pull back. You're no longer lost in the thought, in the emotions, in the worries, in the doubts. You're no longer lost in the study. You're standing back and observing it. It's like standing on the bank of a river and watching the river flow by instead of jumping into the river. That's it. But when you're in this heavenly state, then you are closer to God, and you see in his light. Instead of being lost in the mechanisms of thought processes, instead of being lost in emotions, you stand back. It is in this state where you are recollected or standing back that you are closer to God's light and see in his light, and then you see clearly, you understand. You're not fooled, you're not deceived, you're not pulled into things. And you receive something from the light. See, just like the plant extends its leaves toward the sun, it receives something from the sun, doesn't it? I mean, it gets warmth, of course, but it gets something else, something magical. And then the plant can grow and make beautiful flowers. And it's from the sun, where your soul can receive also from God's light. And it becomes what? It becomes realizations, insights, understanding, and love. And then that translates into a life well lived. You get wisdom, and wisdom translates into a life well. So it's beautiful. And then it extends through your whole being, this light. It extends not only, shines in your mind, but it extends to your body. And everything you do is touched with love. It's beautiful. And the darkness recedes. See, in the beginning, at the beginning of the universe, God said, let there be light. And if there was a singularity, then that was it, but it's outside of time. It's a light, but it's not, you can't find it when you look around the universe, it's outside. But from it came the force. A tremendous force came forth. And this tremendous force is what we would call gravity. Gravity is a facet of it. But it came forth and then wound round and round like a string winding around a ball. Round and round and round. But as the universe expanded, the darkness receded. As the universe expanded, it pushed into the void. Do you understand? The void was pushed back. The void retreated. Darkness retreated. You see what I mean? So when you walk in this light, when you have this light, the darkness recedes. The things of darkness, the dark thoughts, the gloomy thoughts, the negative thoughts, you know what I mean. They recede. They're held back farther and farther until one day all the negativity and the unhappiness and the things that you had before, the rages, and it's all just a very distant memory, almost like it never happened. So now how do you take the first step? That's what my meditation helps with. You can do it in 2 minutes, maybe less. All you do is you close your eyes. You look at the inside of your eyelids. And when you look at the inside of your eyelids, you see little pixels of light, little patterns of light. It's like you're looking with your eyes closed. It's like you're looking and you see patterns of light, little patterns, delicate patterns of light on the inside of your forehead. You're looking at spiritual light. You're actually outside of your brain. You're looking at your brain. You're seeing the light. And that is spiritual light. That is what you're seeing. And you're no longer in the thoughts. You're no longer down in the thoughts. You're observing spiritual light. And then you can also at the same time become aware of, let's say, your hand. You can become aware of either hand, both hands, but let's just say your right hand. You just notice your hand. As your eyes are closed, you're watching the light on the inside of your forehead, the inside of your eyelids. You are at the same time aware of your hand. Very gently aware of it. You notice your hand. You notice that it exists. You feel the blood flow into it. And your attention to it makes it start to tingle a little bit. And you extend. You're aware of your forehead, the inside of your eyelids of the light, watching the light. And at the same time aware of your hand. And that extends the light into your body, into your fingertips. And sometimes your hand or your hands will feel warm. Sometimes your whole body can feel warm. Tingly. It's a delicate tingly feeling. Very pleasant tingly feeling. So that's all you need to do. That little exercise. Look at the light on the inside of your eyelids. Be aware of your hand. That's it. That gets you started. That is it. It's simple. Very simple. It gets you started. So now, a couple of other things. I have put up on YouTube 2 or 3 or 4 little meditations with a clever clip art there. Instead of me, you see a clever clip art. I think I call it a short meditation, a 5-minute meditation, a 2-minute meditation, and also a meditation for depression. They're all beautiful, but they're very nice. And especially, I kind of like this new one, meditation for depression. I didn't plan to make it. I sat down. What I wanted to do was to make a promo. I have a radio program. And the promo is also there. It's 30 seconds. I wanted to make a 30-second promo, which they run during the week. And it tells people, it's an invitation for people to listen to my radio program, which is on Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon. So I wanted to make a little promo, and so I thought, well, I'll just put the microphone on and I'll start saying something, and lo and behold, what came forth but a meditation for depression. It's very beautiful. So there you have it. You can email me at Roland at sheddingshackles.com. Roland, R-O-L-A-N-D, at sheddingshackles.com, and say, I heard about your new book on contemplation, and with the complete text of the Spiritual Guide by Molinos, and I'd like to have it, and I'll send it to you. Okay? I'll send it to you. That's my Christmas present. Oh, it's very nice. Very nice. It's going to be on Amazon also, of course, in quality paperback and also in a Kindle edition, but I wanted to get it available. Oh yes, the term contemplation, remember? That's what the mystics call it. They call it contemplation or contemplative prayer. Both mean the same thing. And what does that mean? It means that it's getting close to God. It's experiencing God. And it's something that is of God. It's His gift. And in my little meditation, see, I've for the past over 30 years now, 32, I'm just going to be the 33rd year. I've just called it meditation. It's a simple term. I just want to use a simple term. But because of my writing about Molinos, and because of his book, I want you to see that what he calls contemplation or infused prayer or contemplative prayer is basically the same thing as the meditation that I just described to you, or which you can find on my website. That's it. You see spiritual light from God. You're close to God. You're recollected. You're not lost in thoughts and emotions. You have access to the light, and then you walk in that light. That's it.